Hey, what is up guys? It is Mike, aka Mr. B Squad himself. If you don't know me or don't remember me, I make videos for Theo and Harris sometimes too. Really honestly, just to spice the comments section up a little bit. Anyways, as you know or may not know, Avengers Endgame is actually coming out, and I don't know how big of a fan the watch fam is in general of the Avengers or of superheroes, but I thought it'd be fun to talk about what watch I would give to some of the Avengers. I ended up picking 5 just because sometimes I get a little ranty on points. So I picked 5 Avengers, and basically I just kind of picked a watch that I think would go with their personality or one that they would pick out, and let's talk about it a little bit. Before we even get into that though, quick wristwatch check. I am wearing an old Omega. It is not a Seamaster, just their dressy line. I really like dials that have this like golden patina over it. Christian always says marshmallow, which I'm like, that's actually a pretty accurate description of this. I really want to wear my Rolex Datejust, but actually at work, crazy thing happened is we get 15 minutes a day to play basketball, and we play basketball in a basement, so I always take my watch off. I walk all the way to the other end of the basement, which is pretty far. It's probably like 2 basketball courts wide, so it's really like pretty far. So you'll never guess what happened. We were playing basketball, a coworker of mine got out, and as a joke he punted the basketball, and I just watched it like a small little watch seeking missile just bash my Rolex, and I saw it hit my watch, and then I saw the Rolex go up, and I was like, oh wow, that's going up pretty high, and then it hit the ground and just kind of smacked there. So really the only damage was that an indice fell off, so getting that repaired now, and then I'll get to wear it soon. Anyways, on with the video. Tragic story, I know. Alright, so the first person I want to talk about, I feel like has to be Iron Man, Tony Stark himself. I think 11 years ago was the first movie, and it was Iron Man. So shout out to Tony Stark, aka Robert Downey Jr., who has a watch collection video himself in real life. This is for his character though. Okay, so Tony Stark, I think the best watch for him would be the Gagarin Tourbillon by Bernhard Lederer. And I don't know if I said that right, but I watched like 15 videos where they say its name, so I'm hoping it's correct. So this watch was made to commemorate the first person to ever leave Earth and go to space, Yuri Gagarin. And what's super cool about this watch is that it's the perfect celebration of humans leaving Earth to go to space. And I feel like that really is dominated by Iron Man in the Avengers. But if you look at this watch, there's a ton of cool things. So Tony Stark himself is a mechanic or a tinkerer, an inventor, so on and so forth. This watch comes with a built-in sapphire loop that goes over it itself. So I think, 1, that is crazy. 2, it's a tourbillon watch that isn't only a tourbillon, but it also is a kind of floating tourbillon where it goes around the actual watch itself. And what's holding it actually looks like it's kind of blasting off into space and leaving Earth. So that's another cool detail about that. And the reason I chose a tourbillon watch for Tony Stark is actually because he has the arc reactor in his chest, which is basically around his heart, making sure that none of the iron fragments enter into his heart and kill him. And I feel like when he was looking at watches, 1, he liked the fact that it has a built-in loop. It's very complicated, but most importantly, he can kind of see himself in the watch where the heart of the watch is exposed, and it kind of shadows or mirrors the fact that his heart is exposed, and it's really the centerpiece of him himself. Next up, Captain America, who is really kind of the foil of Tony Stark. I don't know if I'm using foil 100% correctly, but he has a lot of opposite perspectives where I feel like Tony Stark wants this huge gold, super complicated watch. Captain America doesn't want that. He wants a watch that tells the time and will tell the time reliably, always. And it's super important to remember the fact that Captain America is actually from the 1940s. So mixing that together and being from Theo and Harris, who sells vintage watches, I thought what better watch than a vintage Rolex Bubbleback. It would probably be in steel. I kind of like to imagine that he got this watch as a gift before he went to war or was going to go to war, and basically keeping it. Doesn't need a new watch, still tells the time great. Although, like I said, he probably has a steel one. I did want to give him a gold one instead, simply for the fact that if it's an orangey, yellowy, patina gold on that bubble back, it'll look really good with his blue suit. So thought that would be a fun kind of mix there. Next up, I want to talk about Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, who in this Marvel universe is actually kind of the understudy or protege of Tony Stark. So a little bit of parallels there. I'll get into that in a second, and I'm not going to go a lot into detail about his watches because I actually gave him 3, but we'll skim on them a little bit. So I'm going to start off and say the first watch that Peter Parker had was a Casio F91W. Simple to the point. Casio, he's a young dude. I think he's supposed to be 16 in the movie. Maybe he got this at 14 years old or something. He's not gonna buy a Rolex or an AP or something like that. He's gonna get a Casio. It's his first watch. whatever. Now, as he grows up, he's got a little bit more confidence. He wants to be seen as this dashing, confident Spider-Man figure. He's trying to get the girls now, 16, 17, however old he is. I'm gonna say he went somewhere in New York with $500 in his pocket, and he saw a bunch of Pateks, he saw a bunch of APs, he saw all those cool watches, and then he went into a shop and saw the new Timex American Documents watch, which is really a beautiful watch. Is it worth $500? I wouldn't say so, but Spider-Man sees it. He can see that kind of Patek Philippe inspiration a little bit there, and he really likes the fact that it's made in America because he works with Captain America all the time, wants to show it off to him. He buys that watch and he's rocking it all the time. Finally, I mentioned the fact that he is kind of Iron Man's understudy protege type thing because there's this underlying fatherhood type theme rolling through the Avengers movie between Iron Man and Spider-Man, and I feel like Iron Man, or Tony Stark, basically having all the money in the world, he wants to get Peter a gift, and he gets him a basic Rolex Oyster Perpetual. Nothing fancy, either a white dial or a blue dial or something like that, really just as a gift. Says, here you go kid, gives it to him, whatever. Next up is Bruce Banner, aka Hulk, and this is a really interesting kind of mix because you can kind of look at it as two people in one, but I'm giving a watch that I think could go back and forth between the two characters the easiest. Obviously it's a lot more favored for Hulk, but whatever. If I just had to give a watch to Bruce Banner, I'd give him the Rolex Milgauss, but since he can also become the Hulk, I want to give him something special, something loud, because when he's the Hulk, he's like 12 feet tall, like 12 million tons, and is like unstoppable. So the watch that I would give to the Hulk and Bruce Banner, or they would buy themselves, is the Richard Mille RM2703. One, because the design and colors of it are super loud, and I feel like that goes hand in hand with the Hulk wearing it because one, he's super loud on a verbal level. Two, it's pretty hard to miss a giant green man smashing down New York City, and I feel like that's kind of what this watch is. It's a giant green man smashing down New York City, if you will. And two, it's really cool that it's a tourbillon, but it can also withstand up to 10,000 Gs of shock, which I feel like goes hand in hand with the Hulk. But obviously, luxury watches aside, the Hulk should get a G-Shock. I feel like that's super obvious, but I figured luxury is more fun. Okay, and last but not least, we have Thor, who is a super hard superhero for me to assign a watch to, just because, of course, all the other superheroes are like smashing things and going crazy, but in the past few Avengers movies and Thor movies, Thor has gotten full-on god powers, as you can see, and two, also literally took in the power of a star, so really not a lot of watches I could recommend someone that's asking for a watch that can withstand those conditions. I'd probably say, I think you're more of a reference to Sun to Find the Time watch guy, but if Thor was kind of looking for a watch to just wear casually around the house when he's hanging out with the Avengers or something, I would probably recommend the new Meteorite Dial Rolex GMT. I feel like that's the best match I can think of. One, because he's traveling a lot, and two, just because he's not actually from Earth, so maybe he'd like something that reminds him of that, but that's my best guess, Thor. Other than that, I have no idea. Anyways, though, that about wraps up the video. If you're looking to get into the Avengers or superhero movies or something like that, and you want some watch content on the side, I would definitely recommend Doctor Strange's first movie, because watches are actually a really pivotal part of that movie, and they represent Doctor Strange going from being a regular surgeon to an actual superhero, and there's some beautiful watches actually in the movie, so that might be a good place to start. Anyways, if you're in the market for a vintage luxury wristwatch, definitely check out theoandharris.com. They got a lot of cool watches, including the watch that I recommended for Captain America, that gold Rolex Bubbleback, so definitely check them out. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, leave a comment, leave a subscribe somewhere. I'll pick it up and throw it to the channels. Anyways, I hope you're having a bomb day. I don't know when I'll see ya, but I'll see ya.